This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of How to Reverse Prediabetes, where we're starting with the basics. What exactly is prediabetes, and how do you know if you have it? We'll break down the warning signs and numbers that put you in this in-between zone before full-blown diabetes kicks in. Let's get into it. Right now, roughly 1 in 3 adults is walking around with a condition that quietly damages blood vessels, nerves, and organs, yet most have no idea it's there. In today's episode, we'll step into that hidden world and explore what's really happening inside the body. Think of today's episode as opening a lab report on your own metabolism. We're not just asking, is prediabetes bad? We're asking, what exactly is it, and how close is it to crossing the line into type 2 diabetes? Prediabetes has a medical passport, specific blood tests that say, you're not in the danger zone yet, but you're not in the clear either. It shows up in numbers like fasting glucose, an oral glucose tolerance test, and HbA1c, the 3 main data streams doctors watch when they suspect your body is struggling with sugar. Instead of guessing, we'll pin down where the official cutoffs are, how doctors interpret them, and why 2 people with the same numbers might face different levels of risk. We'll also look at how common it really is and why so many people only discover it by accident during a routine checkup. Here's where it gets interesting. Those lab numbers aren't random. They're your body's performance review after every meal. Behind each result is a story about how well your muscle, liver, and fat cells respond when insulin knocks, asking them to take in sugar. In prediabetes, that knock starts getting ignored more often, so the pancreas pushes out extra insulin to compensate. For a while, this workaround hides the problem, which is why you can feel totally fine while your system is quietly running closer and closer to its limits. Think of those lab numbers as the headline. Now we're going to read the fine print about what they mean for your future. First, prediabetes isn't one single pattern. It's a cluster of different metabolic glitches that all show up as slightly elevated glucose. Some people mainly struggle with fasting levels, which often points toward the liver releasing more sugar overnight and cells being a bit more insulin resistant in the background. Others have near-normal fasting numbers but spike high after meals, revealing that their system can't handle a sugar stress test very well. Same label, different weak points. Those weak points matter because they predict what might happen next. A body that mainly has trouble after meals may respond especially well to changes that blunt post-meal spikes, walking after eating, adjusting carbs at specific meals, or spreading intake across the day. A body with high fasting numbers may benefit more from targeting sleep, evening eating, and overall weight loss. In other words, the pattern of your prediabetes can guide a more personalized strategy, not just a generic, eat better, move more. Prediabetes also rarely travels alone. It commonly shows up hand in hand with high triglycerides, low HDL, good cholesterol, elevated blood pressure, and extra fat around the waist. Together, these form what's called metabolic syndrome, a sign that your whole energy management system is under strain, not just your blood sugar. This cluster pushes cardiovascular risk up even before diabetes officially appears. Here's where many people get caught off guard. Prediabetes can be dynamic. Some move from normal, prediabetes, diabetes over years. Others hover in the same range for a long time. A meaningful number actually move back into the normal range when they change habits or start medication. Long-term studies show that modest weight loss and regular activity don't just delay diabetes. They can keep people in the non-diabetic range for over a decade, especially if those changes are sustained. One useful way to see it: in music, being slightly off-key doesn't ruin the concert, but it tells you the instrument needs tuning before the performance falls apart. Prediabetes is that early signal, subtle, measurable, and importantly, adjustable if you respond to it in time. Think about how your phone battery behaves over time. When it's new, you can stream, scroll, and navigate for hours without thinking. A few years in, it still turns on, but you start noticing small clues. It drops from 80% to 40% faster, or dies unexpectedly on cold days. It's not dead, but the margin for error is shrinking. Prediabetes works similarly. The system still runs, but your battery between meals and overnight is shorter, and stressors you once shrugged off, poor sleep, heavy late dinners, long period sitting, now leave a bigger metabolic dent. Two phones at 40% charge can behave differently depending on which apps are running. Likewise, two people with similar lab values can diverge depending on muscle mass, visceral fat, and how often they recharge with movement and high-fiber food. Technologies like continuous glucose monitors, step counters, and sleep trackers are essentially your battery analytics. They don't just show numbers, they reveal which apps in your life quietly drain your system the fastest. Your challenge this week: run a 7-day battery audit on yourself. You don't need any new devices, just pay close attention to 3 energy checkpoints each day, right when you wake up, mid-afternoon, and late evening. At each point, quickly rate, in your head or on paper, your physical energy, your mental clarity, and your cravings on a simple 1 to 5 scale. Now, here's the twist. Each time you rate yourself, jot just one trigger that might be affecting that score. Maybe last night's bedtime, today's stress level, how long you've been sitting, or what you ate in the last few hours. At the end of the week, scan for patterns in your low scores and repeat triggers. Those recurring combos are your personal, battery-draining apps and prime targets for change in future episodes. Prediabetes also changes how you respond to the modern world. Chronic stress, ultra-processed foods, and late-night screens act like background apps constantly pinging your system. Over time, this can tilt sleep hormones, appetite signals, and even gut bacteria in directions that nudge sugars higher. The upside: those same pathways are trainable. Small experiments, earlier dinners, stress breaks, smarter snacking, can recode how your body handles tomorrow's glucose, not just today's lab result. Like any early warning system, these glucose shifts are less a verdict than a fork in the road. One direction leads toward stricter limits and more medications, the other toward experiments that rebuild metabolic flexibility, using muscle like a savings account, sleep as nightly software repair, and food timing as the rhythm section that keeps your whole system in sync. Before next week, ask yourself, 1. If my doctor told me today that my A1C is in the pre-diabetes range, how would I want my health and energy to look 12 months from now? And which 2 daily habits, like evening snacking, sugary drinks, or portion size at dinner, are most likely getting in the way of that? 2. Looking at my typical day, where is the easiest 10 to 15-minute window I can turn into a blood sugar walk after a meal, starting today, and what would I need to have ready, shoes by the door, a podcast queued up, to make it actually happen? 3. If I treated prediabetes as an early warning system instead of a diagnosis, what is one specific change to my breakfast, for example, swapping juice and cereal for eggs and fiber-rich veggies or oats with nuts, that I'm genuinely willing to test for the next 7 days? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!